What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here on Manta XP. It's your boy Manta here today to give you the review of my game of the year. I said it probably at the beginning of this year, even last year when we first saw a trailer for it, that this was going to be something special. And trust me, it delivered, and it over delivered. Right? It didn't even under promise. It just, the stakes were really high, and then they just went above and beyond. So of course we're talking about Metaphor ReFantazio. You've probably heard this name a million times, especially after all the end of the year award shows, everybody's top 10s, things like that. So I finally finished it 114, 15 hours. I did not think it was going to take that long. Like, people were not joking when they said this was a long game, but Atlus definitely did their thing, and I got a lot of thoughts I want to share. So if you guys are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this. Appreciate you guys for getting me up to 700 subscribers. We're on our way to 1,000. Let's keep it going strong. Got, a few more videos for the rest of the year, and then we're going to go into 2025 really strong. That being said, let's get right into this review. So as I said earlier, this game does come from Studio Zero, which is a new studio, but it is from the original creators of Persona 3, 4, and 5, which are considered the best in the series by far. Persona 3 Reload did come out this year, and I did get a chance to play that, experience that story for the first time, 70 hours into the game, and I really enjoyed it. But Metaphor is completely different than Persona. So this game was first shown to us as Project ReFantazio. So no one really knew what it was. It was just a code name back in like 2017, 2018. But then last year we finally got our first look at the game, and I was like, wow. I'm not even a big jrpg person, but I was like, I need to play this game. I literally was like, this is going to be something special. I can't wait to play it. I really wanted to see what this game is, because it wasn't like the traditional, Japanese RPGs, especially Atlus games or Persona games, where you're just in, a high school and things like that. That's what people got accustomed to, just being in high school, and like, yeah, the game's great and everything, but it's like, we need a switch up. Like, the settings gotta change, the gameplay mechanics, everything like that. And they completely, did that. It's a fantasy setting, the, old English type of speaking and things like that. And originally I did play the game in Japanese, but after a while it's like, you realize you gotta, it's kind of like when you watch sub anime, like you have to look at the screen the entire time, you're reading the entire time, especially with how long the game is. And let's say you're playing at night, or you just had a long day and you're like, I do not feel like I have to read everything. I want to just listen, enjoy the story, take it in. So I did change it, and like the English voice actors were still pretty good. So I definitely give them kudos for finding people that could really bring out the same emotion that the Japanese voice actors bring out. And what Atlus did, which I really appreciate, that a lot of people with RPGs and JRPGs, some of these games, they're putting out demos, but not just demos for you to get a feel for the game. They actually have it carry over. So the prologue demo, which I played back in September, and I did a video on that, which might be a little more in-depth than this, because this is an overview of the entire game. That was a, in-depth overview of the first 8 hours of the game. But I did that back in September, and I was like, yeah, this, I already knew. And I said in that video, I said, I don't care what else I play this year, what else comes out, this is going to be my game of the year. And I think they did a really good job of, making sure, I don't know if they planned it, but that first 8 hours, you get a really good glimpse of everything you got to do in the game, from the day-night cycle, the bonds and relationships, the battle system, everything like that. You get a really good, feel for that. And speaking again of feel, and as I was saying with the voice actors and everything like that, like the art style for this game, like, are the graphics some, next gen, photorealistic, all that? No, but it doesn't need to be like that. I think the game, of course, Atlus is the top of the top when it comes to just style. And people talk about the menus and things like that. Like, you can literally get lost in just going through the menus, looking at the different colors, the different, how each person's represented, everything, like the sounds, all the little like satisfying clicking it makes when you're going through the menus, like everything. They even put anime cutscenes. I know Persona normally has some of that, but, and sorry, I keep comparing this to Persona, but it is their, their other property that's the closest related to it. But they put way more anime scenes into it, and they're way longer. Like, when I was playing Persona 3 Reload, the anime scenes were probably like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. They weren't, that extent. Some of these are like full on, like you can make a whole mini anime series if you put all the cutscenes together. They really did their thing. And I think this is an Unreal Engine 4, so again, nothing crazy. It's like that cell shaded style that you're used to from other Atlus games, but how it all blends together in the, medieval times and the how they talk and everything, like it all just meshes very well together. But now, since we're talking about, the style and everything and voice acting, let's get into the story a little bit. So the story in it, again, it starts off before you even press play. It shows you the story right from the, the title screen before you even pick a save file. And the story revolves around a, I don't call him a vigilante, but a, someone who has high power and things like that, but he kind of wants to do everything on his own. His name is Luis. He kills the king right from the start. This isn't a spoiler alert, I promise you. Regicide happens right then and there. And then from there, now there's this tournament of who is going to be the new king. And they're like, okay, it's not, the prince who was actually your best friend who's cursed. He's out. Everyone thinks he's dead. He's really, being cursed. It's been, I think, 10 years or 8 years at this point. And he is the rightful heir, but they're like, listen, we need to get away from the old ways. And the game really dives into a lot of people's old ways of thinking, whether it's culture, religion, tradition, just, anything like that, with the church versus the common folk versus the army versus, like, it's a whole power struggle. But they're like, why don't we let the people decide? That should be the way it's done. So now this whole tournament starts. You meet friends along the way, you build these bonds, and your whole thing is, hey, we have to stop Luis. We believe he's not good, to take over for this country. He's going to be a bad ruler. And you're also out to save the prince who you believe Luis is connected to somehow with that curse that's been put on him. So from there, you're just going around. Again, it's a competition, so there's different things you have to do, different lands you have to travel to, and you try to be the king, not for your own selfish reasons, but because you believe you're going to be the best ruler for the country. And you have to stop Luis. That is the main thing. To stop him, you have to become king. That is just the the bottom line of it. And again, there is a lot of prejudice and things like that, and not to say racism or prejudice is a surface level topic, but as you get deeper into the game, you deal with a lot of other stuff that people more people can actually pull into. A lot of people unfortunately don't like talking about prejudice, racism, classism, things like that. But there's other things in this game with, like, loss of, family members, dealing with death, your own mortality, anxiety, just being alone. Like, there's so many different ways that they spun these themes into this game, and it's just like it literally keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Pause. Like, no matter how far, like, you could be 40 hours in, you think you grasp everything, you haven't. Like, the amount of deeper connections and plot twists and themes and things like that, and you're just like, yo, you literally cannot figure out everything, piece everything together until you finish the game. For some clarification, I did play on the hard mode, so certain things with the game do make battles just take longer. I do a lot of the side quests. I try to do every single thing when it comes to these RPGs, especially a game like this where your leveling is tied to these, these missions and stuff like that. And I recommend it too. I'll talk about it a little bit later with my, like, tips and tricks, but you definitely want to do these optional quests and dungeons because you get some really good loot, some really good experience and leveling up. And listen, the game, they have limited amount of time to do anything, and you're going to wish you did. So when I play games like this, I really think, like, how does a developer or a writer, of course, that's how they got the job. It's like, how do you come up with this stuff, man? I'm telling you, it's very compelling. One of my favorite stories in a video game, like, maybe since God of War, the 2018, like those two games, the Norse mythology trilogy, or Norse mythology 2 games, like, really, really great stuff. Now I want to talk about the gameplay, which is the heart of this game, right? You talk about graphics and everything like that. Yes, story is very important, but the gameplay, how does the game feel? How does it function? Is it fun? Is it snappy? Especially with JRPGs, is the battle system, the skill tree, whatever you want to call it, does it work, right? So one of the main things that appealed to me with this was, and I believe they did the same thing in Persona 5 Royal, I'm not sure because I haven't played it yet, but they mix the, real-time turn-based action or turn-based battle system with a real-time action RPG. So if you're in the overworld, there are these dungeons. Of course, people from that play Persona will recognize it. There's enemies out, but if the enemy is weaker than you, you can literally just go up, attack them a few times, and you'll get the experience, the money, everything. You won't have to sit through it. Like, that's what makes RPGs very cumbersome, no quality of life, fixes and things like that, which we see in a lot of these remakes. But a lot of the time you're going to have to go through battles, or you get sucked into a battle and then you try to escape, but you can't escape, and then you get attacked, and then now you have to heal up. Like, it really kills the experience. And I think one of the biggest things nowadays that developers have to do is learn how to keep you immersed into the game and not pull you out of that. So being able to attack enemies in the overworld saves a ton of time. Even enemies that are stronger than you or the same level, you can go up, attack them a few times and stun them, and then go into a battle, or just run around them after they're stunned. And you'll start that turn-based battle with attacking them first. They'll lose a bunch of health and they'll be stunned. So now you can possibly go through all your turns without them going and then get to go again. So it's a really good system I think they have there. Now with the actual battle system, you have a number of turns, right? You'll see a big icon for the amount of turns you have. If you do a move that is strong against that enemy, so if they're weak to fire, they're weak to slashing, they're weak to piercing attacks, weak to lightning, you'll actually only use technically half of your turn icon. Or if you get a critical hit, which is way less likely, but if you do that, you'll do double damage, and then you'll also, again, use half the turn. Same thing if you pass on your turn, you want to pass to an ally, you don't want to, waste an attack or anything like that. Now that's, again, very valuable, because if you go through and finish the enemy off without them ever attacking you, or if they attack you and they miss for some reason or whatever, you actually get bonus money, experience, magla points, everything like that at the end of the thing. So again, there's a lot of strategy when it comes to this kind of stuff. You also have your synergy attacks, which are based on the archetype system. And now the archetypes are kind of like Personas from the Persona games, except the difference with this is in Persona, each of your party members could only use one persona, and you as the protagonist were able to use all of them, or whatever ones you wanted to use. You equip one at a time. But in Metaphor, what they did was every time you meet a new character, you form a bond with them, and these bonds then unlock new archetypes, and then you can strengthen those bonds and you'll get more moves to use. You'll get other benefits, like, well, we'll talk about the bond system in a second, but again, going back to the archetypes, now everybody can kind of switch between different archetypes, so you're not forced to move somebody out of your party just because they only use one type of archetype. You can now level them up, definitely trying to figure out what works for you, what works for certain characters, and then you can have a versatile lineup as you're battling people. Now going back to the bond system that I mentioned, so throughout the story you'll meet certain characters. Some of them you'll literally have to, because they'll be part of your party, but then there's other characters that you can choose to or choose not to strengthen your bonds with them. The bonds are basically like the social links from Persona. When you do these bonds, you then get, like I said, you'll learn new moves. You can have multiple slots. And again, going back to learning multiple archetypes and mastering them, you can take all different moves from archetypes that you learn and teach them to your new archetype, like whatever one you're wielding. So when your bond gets up to, let's say, level 7 or 8, and you can have 4 different moves, now you can pull from all the archetypes you learned and pull certain moves from them. So now you can have a versatile archetype and not have to worry about switching between them every battle and things like that. Sometimes you will either way, but again, the bond system's really great. And what is really good about it is, again, to dunk on Persona, but sometimes with the social links, yeah, there were some meaningful things you would do with the characters, but sometimes it's just like, hey, you want to eat lunch and all this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, sure. In this, when you form a bond and you want to strengthen that bond, you'll actually learn more about the people's motivation, their actual, some more about their past, and it'll be a, really deep conversation. And maybe that might turn off some people because the game, I will say, is a little depressing. Like, yes, there are funny moments, but the game is very super serious, as opposed to, yeah, Persona has serious moments, but it's like, yeah, your kids are in high school, yeah, let's save the world. But Persona is very like, no, this is the way the world needs to be. And there's people getting hung in the middle of there's like, it's way deeper than Persona win, and that's fine. Or you want a tone switch up, and this is the game for you. Now, we were talking about dungeons, which is where all the fighting and things go, where it happens at. And when it comes to these dungeons, yes, some of them are shorter than others, some of them have multiple floors, different crawl spaces to go through, and I think you really want to explore every single part of the map in a dungeon, because there are certain items you won't get anywhere else unless you get them later, or you gotta pay a bunch of money for it. There's like treasure chests and things like that, and when you get these items, it also is a autosave feature. So when you're going through a dungeon, there's not very many save points, and sometimes you're going to be fighting something really hard, or you're trying to get through and you're like, man, I just need a save point. So picking up an item actually auto saves for you, so you can kind of strategically deal with that. Like, this game is very strategic. It's not just a turn-based RPG and, hey, I use a strong move and keep it moving. It's like, no, you need to learn how to resource manage, because the Magla points, which you use to use their archetype moves, there are no moves that will just refill it. There's not the items that refill it. There's not that many. The ones that you find them in a dungeon, you can buy some at certain stores, but they only do like 20 or 30. When you get later in the game and you're at 400 MP to use your archetype moves, that little 20 is not going to do nothing. So like, you have to really be able to resource manage as you're going through these dungeons. Be smart, definitely battle as much as you can. Sometimes, listen, there's some items I have that will give you a little bit of MP, like 4 or 5 each turn that you're going. Sometimes I'll skip a turn if I don't think I need to go and I can beat it without doing it, or I'll do a regular attack instead of using an archetype, and that'll just save me some MP throughout the thing. You got to be really, really strategic with that. And of course, just like Persona, there is a calendar system, so you do need to, again, use your time management. You have these, what they call royal virtues, which is the same as, I forget what they're called, attributes or something, like in Persona, where you can have your courage up or your imagination. You can do all these things, but I wouldn't prioritize these things. If you're, the best thing to do with your time, because when you do anything that raises those skills or royal virtues, the day's over already. Now you can't really do anything. You can't travel at night unless you've been to a place before, so you can teleport, and they're not that necessary. There are certain bonds where you'll need those royal virtues to be a little bit higher, but realistically, once you figure out that you need that, then you can target that. But other than that, I say focus on dungeons. You get the most out of it, and strengthening your bonds that you may not need that for. If you do need that, go ahead and raise your virtues a little bit, but don't waste too much time on that. There's very limited time in this game. There's limited time to do certain missions and things like that. So definitely, prioritize what you gotta prioritize. Now, my final score, which you can probably guess, it is going to be a 10 out of 10. Is the game perfect? No. But 10 out of 10 to me does not mean perfect. There are no perfect games. There's a million games that you can point out different things that don't make them that great. When it comes to this game, to me, the only real gripes I had with it were, I like that they let you restart a battle if you feel like you messed up, but then if you pick the wrong archetype or you had a certain item on you or whatever, you can't switch it out. You have to end up either finishing the battle if you feel like struggling through it, or you let them beat you, or you close the app and restart, depending on where it auto saved that and things like that. That, I don't know if they would actually change that, but that was some, small gripe I had with the game. The other thing was just the last arc of the game, I think, was too long. Like, it's like they tried to fit, like, there was a bunch spread out throughout the game, and then they tried to fit every plot twist of the world in the last 20-30 hours. They added 2 extra dungeons, and it was just like, it started dragging a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But again, if you like the game like I did, it's enjoyable either way. And I think Atlus really did their thing. It's really got me excited for what's gonna happen with Persona 6. I don't know. I think it's hard to play this and then go back to Persona. I don't want it to sound like that because they are 2 completely different games, but I just think this was the perfect mix of Persona and SMT as their other, 2 core franchises. I'm excited to see what they do with this, if there will be spin-offs, if there will be, a sequel in a sense, but maybe like a, kind of like an anthology series where same type of system, but new characters and new stories and things like that to tell. But either way, I didn't do my game of the year video yet, but this will be number 1. Spoiler alert, this is gonna be my game of the year. This has been the best game I've played in a long time, maybe 3-4 years, to be honest. I just really enjoyed this game from top to bottom, and I think you'll enjoy it too. Again, 115 hours over here. You might be less than that, but either way, it's a good time. I know a lot of people are on winter break right now, so you got time to finish it. But that is everything. I appreciate you guys. Again, thank you for giving me the 700 subscribers. Let's keep it pushing, keep sharing these videos with everybody. Subscribe if you are new to the channel, leave a like on this, and I will catch you on the next one.